welcome back. Still watching Business Morning right here on Channels Television. And yes, the X-ray of President Bola Tinubu's administration 2 years into it is still on, especially as we count down to June 12th. That's on Thursday. Now, one of the things that President Bola Tinubu will be remembered for is the creation of the marine and blue economy. But how effective can we say that creation has been almost 2 years after it was created in August, some months after the administration started off? Well, we have a player in that industry right here in the studio. Is Irogama Ogbeifun. She is the Chief Executive Officer of Stars Investments Company. Irogama, good morning and welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you. So, for us outside your sector, we're wondering, so a ministry has been created, so what? So what has been happening? What difference has that made?
Once again, thank you for having me, and I think that this is such a good conversation to have, and a good time too, 2 years later. Before President Bola Ahmed Tinubu came into office, the creation of a ministry such as the Marine and the Blue Economy one was one that the industry had pushed for years, because we felt ignored. We felt that the potentials of the maritime sector was not being galvanized, it wasn't being reached, it wasn't even being, stimulated. So with the emergence of this ministry, what we're seeing now is a minister that is completely devoted, dedicated and committed to the advancement of the sector. So we're now seeing that we have inroads into giving feedback, into stakeholder engagements, and you're having a minister that is forming policies, actionable policies, intervening, and then driving these policies through the various agencies that are under his portfolio. And for us, we see it as a wonderful, we saw it as a wonderful development, and the private sector has come around the minister and the ministry to work hand in hand to see how we actually derive full benefit from the existence of this ministry. And
about 2 years down the line, has the expectation been met?
Yes, one of the major things, so I'm a ship owner. We have a company that operates 11 ships in the energy industry, providing offshore support vessels to oil companies. And one of the major things that he has achieved for us was the recent removal of war risk insurance premiums. This was a mandatory insurance premium that was placed on any vessel operating within the Gulf of Guinea due to the incessant piracy attacks. For him, this ministry has really implemented the Deep Blue project, ensuring that it sustained its benefits, and now we are reaping that benefit by seeing that war risk insurance premium being taken off. Also recently, they just announced the disbursement of the CVFF. This is a major win.
The Cabotage.
The Cabotage Vessel Finance Fund. This is a major win.
And that's getting to the people.
It is going to come to the people, because we have pushed.
It's going to come, or it's coming.
So we have had stakeholder engagements. We're being told how the fund is going to operate, how you're going to be able to access it, and the various vehicles that are available for beneficiaries to go, the routes to go through. And we're working hand in hand with the ministry and the agency in charge, which is NIMASA, to ensure that it is getting to beneficiaries in the most efficient way. So I must say that having the ministry, dedicated ministry, is good for us. There are many more opportunities which the minister, I expect, would take advantage of, but he is working and we're happy.
And so as the Navy, they're celebrating 62 years, and they won't let us hear the last of it. That security is now top-notch there.
Yes. I mean, just like I said, the removal of the war risk insurance premium is just a testament to what the Navy is celebrating, because the Navy did work hand in hand with NIMASA and with other member states to ensure this security in the Gulf of Guinea. I mean, let's be honest, look at the facts. The facts will speak for itself. So it's not an emotional or sentimental feedback. It's actual facts. And that removal speaks to what the Navy should be proud of. And
so we should allow them blow their trumpet.
Let them blow their trumpet. We'll blow it with them.
Okay, but a lot of people still believe that the potentials in that economy is not, I mean, we haven't even scratched the surface. We have fisheries and all of that. That is still saying illegal fishing and all. And I mean, are these things, do they look like they're coming up, or they're still down the ladder?
So, I mean, with personal interaction and engagement with the minister, I know that specifically fisheries is something of huge importance to him. And he spent a bulk of his time last year looking into the ways that the Nigerian fisheries aspect of the maritime sector could actually re-emerge. Because just like you said, there was a time where fishery in Nigeria was people had thriving fishery businesses. And today we're seeing foreigners coming to take advantage of that sector, which means that there is opportunity there. But how do we position our Nigerian indigenous companies to come back into that space, play and thrive, and then begin to export. So if you look at some of the policies that are coming out, and I know that they're working about four different points that will stimulate fisheries. But more importantly, with the emergence of the maritime bank, which I'm hoping we're going to talk about, you would see, because funding becomes an issue, infrastructure, access to good infrastructure becomes an issue, because if you're going to do that, then you're buying these trawlers. They're not cheap, right? You have to maintain them, you have to have a jetty, you have to have cold room, all the ecosystem that supports the fishery industry. So I think that the minister has done sufficient research, and what we as industry are expecting is that we begin to see implementation happen in that sector. I'm very, very interested in fisheries, and I'm quite excited to see him really go deeper and see how we revive that, because foreigners are taking advantage. That means that
I want to talk about that. We're going to talk about the maritime bank. That's an interesting thing that I also noticed recently. But when we talk about foreigners are taking it, I don't understand. They're not ghosts. We do have regulators that are supposed to be watching these space. So what's really happening? And then, of course, I've had this conversation before, and they say, oh, it's really expensive to get, but these foreigners are getting it, and they're getting this species, and they're getting it out. Just like we talk about our crude being stolen. And they're not just, so what from your perspective is really going? Is there compromise in the system, for instance? Because even if we have the funding, if the leakages are still there, we're still going to have the illegal fishermen doing what they're doing.
So I think that it's really looking at the structure. Is it still regulated as it used to be? Maybe because it began to sort of die down, wasn't thriving, that part of the sector wasn't thriving as much. So I think that it's a bit unregulated. So someone could just go like on a fishing boat, and then they're just taking fish, and it's really good species of fish that they could export and earn a lot of foreign exchange for. So now that we have and still back to not having a dedicated ministry who's saying that I'm responsible for this, I'm going to be looking into all these issues, I'm going to ensure that the right frameworks are there, but legal, how do we prosecute? What does the law say about which areas are out of bounds, who can trade there, things like that. And that's what having a minister who this is all he does for the sector, because then he can look at these things, develop them, and also implement them. So like I said, I know he spent a lot of time last year trying to really understand the sector, that part of the sector, and we're looking forward to implementation. And private sector needs to also match that energy, because he can do all these things, but if private sector doesn't show up to say, look, we're ready to take advantage of the opportunities, we're still going to see foreign players who come in and take advantage of the opportunities. So yes, he can put the policy framework in place, he can have the financing structures in place, fiscals that favor, but then private sector have to match the energy as well.
Yeah, private sector is moved by incentives. So I think if there are incentives,
correct,
and there's insurance of investment, then private sector will move in. Everybody wants to make money.
Enabling business environment. So that's a challenge for the minister.
So that's the minister.
Yes.
Exactly.
So that's something that I hope he's watching, that he takes this away, and whichever agency is responsible for regulating the waterways in this regard, in terms of this economic regard, is able to see how do we really harness. Because there were players, very strong players, and there still remain some, but like you said, it's driven by incentives. So if there is the right enabling environment, why won't we emerge? We will emerge.
And that's a maritime bank.
Yes. So
where's the funding supposed to come from? How is it supposed to work? How are we sure that, it will be driven right?
So first of all, let's even see, because I listened to a few news clips, some experts speaking around the emergence of this bank, or why do we need another development bank? We've had so many regional banks, and many of them haven't done so well, and etc. and etc. But then, as a player in the maritime sector, I'm saying a lot of the financial institutions, especially in this region, do not really have an understanding of what it takes to finance a maritime project, whether it's a shipyard, whether it's even a ship acquisition project, because it's expensive. So first of all, for that kind of transaction, it needs to be long-tenured. And most of the banks here are obviously very conservative. They're not going to give you that kind of tenor. So even just understanding the dynamics of such a transaction, the appetite for it, we find very low. So that's why a lot of the Nigerian indigenous companies struggle, right, against their foreign counterparts who are able to access funding at lower interest rates, etc. So having a development bank that is focused on our industry, for us, it's a very welcome idea if it is run right. Let's look at the person at the helm of affairs, Mr. Niron Aderoba. He has background in finance, and he also has background in maritime. So he's coming with a very, very fantastic blend of understanding and experience, an erudite professional. So our expectation, our renewed hope expectation with this appointment is that he will bring that to bear in his execution of his duties. How would he raise funds? How do development banks raise funds?
Exactly.
I know that there are member states who have, so this is not an...
They're multinational, there's AFDB, they are Paxim.
So there are member states that are part of the regional bank, or, who are also coastal countries, and they're participating in this. And so there will be a joint effort in ensuring that funds are raised for all these countries, including Nigeria, to benefit from and then to grow the hub, the region, to really become a strong maritime hub, especially with the after taking off and creating a platform for Africa to do business with Africa. That will be done on the back of marine transportation. Well,
I'm just glad that you're happy with your minister. I hope the sentiment stays that way by this time next year.
He's a listening minister, which is good. There's nothing like having a policymaker who listens, right? Who's accessible, who you can engage with, who takes the feedback and the criticism and goes back to do something about it, who's able to admit that, okay, I don't have clarity on this, but I can listen to what you're saying and then I can engage to see how we make it work. There's nothing as good as having that sort of avenue for collaboration. And I think that the more he continues the engagement with the private sector and stakeholders, and he's able to get the agencies to do what they're supposed to do. I mean, his ministry won the ease of, I think it was the Ease of Doing Business award shortly after his emergence as minister. So I think that he's in the right place, and we'll just keep holding his hand and ensuring that, he's going the right direction.
All right, it's a good one to get good sentiment coming from a player, to the ministry, and we certainly do hope that continues. Thank you so much for your time, Irogama Ogbeifun, the Chief Executive Officer of Stars Investments Company.
Thank you so much for having me, Imi. Thank you.
Great.